Hello, everyone. Dr. Christine Smith today. I have a really cool guest for you, Dr. Tracy Gapin, and he is a board-certified urologist and world-renowned in men's health. He's a high-performance expert and the founder of the Gapin Institute as well, and has been just a global leader in high-performance health. So I'm going to go ahead and invite him on just a second, but he has over 20 years experience focused on providing executives, entrepreneurs, athletes, all a personalized path to optimize their health. Hi, Dr. Gapin.
Hey, Christine, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me. So I was just kind of telling everyone that I had originally heard of you and met you when I was actually attending a conference that you were teaching at, which is the Lens Conference, which is all about labs and neurotransmitters and endocrinology, and that was great. And then we happened to run into each other at another conference oriented around kind of the evolution of healthcare and helping people step into more of a functional and integrative model of healthcare that's actually more sustainable and kind of teaching people how to manage their own health. And that's a lot of what you do through the Gapin Institute. So I'd love if you'd introduce yourself and then we can just kind of get rolling on men's health, which is a really important topic. And I have, a lot of male clients and I work with a lot of athletes and CrossFitters. So I just wanted to make sure this got covered. And I love that you do what you do. So I thought, no, who better to bring on than you?
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And I just want to say how thrilled I am to be here with you tonight. We've talked about doing this for such a long
We
time
did.
and keep putting it off. And I'm so glad we can finally get together. So I'm glad to join you and your audience and speak to whatever I can to help out. So
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Tracy Gapin. I am the founder of the Gapin Institute for High Performance Health, where we help executives, entrepreneurs, high-performing individuals really do one of four things. People want more energy. People want to lose weight. People want better sex. And, I want to live longer. And that's really what I focus on. And I came from the disease model, passive, reactive world of traditional medicine. I spent 23 years as a urologist, and I found that our healthcare system is broken, and we're so focused on treating disease and symptoms, not really focused on, how do we optimize ourselves? How do we be our absolute best? And that's really what it's all about for me now. And that involves a lot of different things that we need to focus on. Men's health is traditionally thought of as testosterone and the blue pill.
Yep.
And I like to think of it as this complex human operating system that we have that has tons of inputs, and we need to understand how all those inputs ultimately affect the outcome, affect our performance. And that's not just testosterone, that's the 12 other hormones that come together in a symphony. It's looking at our gut. The microbiome is ignored in men's health, but it massively impacts energy, metabolism, hormones, neurotransmitters, everything. And so looking at the gut, looking at cortisol, looking at nutrition, and taking a very personalized approach using genetics and wearable technology to really take a very personalized, data-driven approach. So there you go.
No, that was beautiful. Thank you. And you have like a quote on your website and you said, I realized that I had forgotten that my family depends on my health as much as I do. And I loved that. And I think it is, I try really hard to help people like reconnect with their why, right? Like, why are we doing this? Like, I can tell you to eat well and I can tell you to exercise, and so can Dr. Gapin. But if you don't connect inwardly with like why you're doing those things, it's a lot less sustainable. So that I think is,
Yeah.
a really powerful reminder of like why you're doing this stuff and why you're working on it. And when it comes to, the gut health that he was talking about, that's huge. Like, if you have a huge issue with gut motility and you're not detoxing really well, you tend to retain a lot of your hormones and a lot of estrogen, and then it messes with your testosterone and all these different biochemical pathways. So I love, like, I know you had kind of mentioned you had the opportunity to kind of see what was broken in men's health in the system. I'd love if you could talk about that more and just what your observation was.
Yeah. So this all started when I recognized that we are truly experiencing a men's health pandemic, I call it. Testosterone levels have plummeted to the tune of almost 50% over the past few decades. And this is not just the US. There have been three very large longitudinal studies, one here in the US, the Mel Massachusetts Aging Study, one in Sweden and one in Finland. And all these studies show the same thing, that testosterone levels, specifically free testosterone that we care about, is down by almost 50%. What that means is a 50-year-old guy today has a testosterone level that's about half what it was 20 years ago. And what's crazy is men are going to their doctors who may or may not even check a free testosterone, but they'll check a total testosterone, which is fairly worthless. And
Yeah.
they'll tell men your testosterone is normal. And gosh, I can't tell you how much I hate that.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're looking at that ridiculous reference range on the right side of the lab slip. And that range, to be really clear, is not the ideal, optimal, perfect range for whatever lab you're looking at. It's simply the average. It's the statistically developed bell curve for that particular lab. So you find the median. LabCorp does 1 million testosterone labs. They find the median. 2 statistical standard deviations on either side. That gives you a reference range. But we know that 3 massive studies showed that levels are half what they were 20 years ago. So therefore, that bell curve just keeps shifting lower and lower. And when your number falls in that range, you're being told that you're fine when you're not.
So it's the average, not normal or
Yeah,
healthy.
exactly. So we should just be telling men, well, yeah, you're in the average range, which is half of what it should be. That's the real problem there. And so testosterone is, one big biomarker, and not just about sex and muscle. It's about energy and cognitive function, bone health, muscle build. It's about cardiovascular health. We know that men with low testosterone have about a 30% increased risk of developing a major adverse cardiac event. We know that men with lower testosterone don't live as long. Men with lower testosterone have higher risk of prostate cancer. And so it's understanding that that's really where it all starts. And it certainly doesn't end there when we talk about a systems biology approach, understanding how many other things we need to look at. But that's really one of the tipping points that make us realize that there's a lot going on under the hood that's just not getting any attention.
Yep. Yep. And I think, I'm just gonna say it. I think one of the things that men deal with in our society is almost not being able to talk about it because then it's like a vulnerability and men are expected to always be really strong and carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, but it's a real thing and it's something real that people deal with. And so that's one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, right? Like I cover women's health sometimes, but I wanted to cover men's. And ultimately, when it comes down to it, like functional health for all of us is quite similar, and it has a lot to do with lifestyle and what you're putting into your body and what you're trying to remove toxin wise from your environment. Like that's going to apply to all of us. But, what are some of the things that you think are really specific to men's health and that you focus on a lot?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up because men have this tendency to think if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and they don't seek attention until something's wrong when it's
It's
often too.
about longevity.
Yeah, exactly. And our entire healthcare system is built on this concept of neglect and complacency, and so I think it's not an accident that we fall victim or fall guilt, are guilty of that as well. But it starts with the simple choices that we make on a daily basis, and I'll give you a couple that we can just touch on briefly here.
Right.
One of them is plastic water bottles. Plastic water bottles are crushing your testosterone, men. Plastic water bottles are killing you for many reasons. The plastics that are used to make those water bottles, is leaching into the water every day, especially when it's warm. Especially these pallets of water bottles will sit there for months before they ever make it to the shelf, before they ever make it to your home. And so one of the things that we can easily do in our daily life is just get rid of plastic water bottles. Filter your water, get a carbon block filter so you can filter out the endocrine disruptors, which are toxins, chemicals all around us.
And
And
weird pharmaceuticals that have now made their way into our water that also
yeah,
affect us and things like that.
I like to joke that every man is on birth control because we have synthetic estrogen, basically women's birth control, in our water supply, and it doesn't get filtered by the municipal treatment plants.
Nope.
And so insist on filtering your water. Get I carry a stainless steel water container with me everywhere I go, and you can use glass or stainless, doesn't matter, but no plastic. That goes for food containers as well. Plastic storage containers for your food, especially, God forbid, if you're going to heat it up, do not use plastic under any circumstance. It's Pyrex, it's glass, it's porcelain, it's just not plastic. Focus on, organic fruits and vegetables, wild caught fish, like wild caught salmon, for example, farm raised animals. It's so important to be eating clean, and that starts with really understanding what's in your food. And if it's not organic, you just have no idea. And so look at the ingredients in your foods, focus on eating foods that you can understand and read the ingredients. And, so many of the packaged care products out there are low canola oil, sunflower, safflower oil, and it's killing us. It's pro-inflammatory. A great example is, guys ask me, well, what can I take? What are good snacks I can eat? One of the best ones is almonds, a great source of healthy fats, and almonds are a wonderful snack, but be careful, read the ingredients. So, for example, my wife and I were at Target last year, and I went to get a big bag of almonds, and I look at the ingredients of everything I buy, and ingredients, almonds, awesome. The bag next to it said dry roasted almonds. That sounds compelling. I look at the ingredients. The very first ingredients, canola oil, then almonds, then sea salt. So pro-inflammatory oils like that are killing us. And so it's understanding what's in our food and water supply. Personal care products loaded with chemicals and toxins. You can use the Environmental Working Group app called Healthy Living. It's free. If you like free, download it, and you can scan barcodes of any product you get in the store, deodorant, soap, shampoo, laundry detergent, sunscreen, etc. And you would be shocked at the chemicals that you are putting on your body or in your body. And so it's paying attention to these little decisions, Christine, that matter so much.
Yep. And I'd love to, so part of what I like doing on this channel is educating people about physiology, right? So let's talk a little bit about why what he's talking about affects your health and your hormones. So let's say that you are eating just whatever meat from the grocery store, read nothing about the label, have no idea where that cow came from. So that cow very well may have been living in a super stressed out environment, eating food that it's not supposed to eat, which then totally messes with that cow's gut biome and its stress hormone pathways, which messes with its other hormone pathways. And then you eat that meat and you eat that cow's messed up hormones, which then messes up your hormones, especially if they've been on antibiotics and things like that. And then when he's talking about the chemistry and the chemicals, like, we've barely done research in that area and definitely not done research on how the chemicals interact with each other. So we're now living in this like amalgamation of toxic chemicals in our environment, some of which are things like the plastics he was talking about, which are basically synthetic estrogens and act like estrogen in your body. And so that's why we have kind of a pandemic of like men dealing with breast tissue that they shouldn't have, or boys developing really late, or girls developing too early. And so that's where a lot of these things can be tied in. But yeah, I'd love if you could touch on like any of the biochemical pathways that just come to mind for you, especially like with inflammation, right? Inflammation totally messes with your sex hormones.
Yeah. So when we look at the pathophysiology of how these toxins, these chemicals disrupt our normal hormone production, it's the estrogenic effect. And so when we think about this, think about testosterone and an androgen receptor. You have testosterone molecule, binds to an androgen receptor, gets into the cell, and it does its job. These chemicals can either stop production of testosterone, they can stop the way testosterone interacts with the androgen receptor, they can alter the function of the androgen receptor. And one of the biggest ways they do that is these endocrine disruptors will stick to an endocrine or to an androgen receptor, bind to it so that that receptor can no longer accept testosterone molecules. It's like glue that gets stuck on the androgen receptor. It's like a light switch that you can't turn on anymore. It's stuck in the off position or stuck in the on position. So it can have negative consequences from either overstimulation or by disrupting normal hormone production. And so, for men, hormones is a big part of it. We focus all on testosterone, but I want to emphasize that the other hormones matter as well. Cortisol, which is our stress hormone, is so critically important. Men today are in this high stress life, high stress environment, and learning how to create balance in our life is so key. Learning how to turn off so that we can have a balance in our nervous system and help control cortisol levels is really important. Cortisol promotes inflammation. It causes you to store fat. It makes it difficult to burn fat and build muscle. It crushes your hormone production. It alters your cognitive function, your memory, your focus, your concentration. It affects your sleep. It has incredible negative consequences. And so creating balance in your life is so important. How do we do that? Nasal breathing is a big one. Number one, no one talks about this. Whenever I jokingly ask, do you know how to breathe? Everyone's like, yeah, I know how to breathe. But no one does, because I shouldn't speak in absolutes, but in general, people breathe through our mouth. When we breathe through our mouth, we breathe too often and we breathe too much tidal volume. What that does is it lowers our carbon dioxide levels. We're blowing off too much carbon dioxide, if you can think of it conceptually. What that does is that affects our ability to release oxygen. The red blood cell, to release oxygen at the target tissue, it needs a carbon dioxide molecule right there, a carrier molecule, to release that oxygen. Without the carbon dioxide, it will not release oxygen. And so tissue, oxygenation may be 100%, but you're not releasing that oxygen where it's needed most. And so this can dramatically affect performance in every area of your life, in the gym, in the boardroom, in the bedroom, anywhere. And so simple acts like nasal breathing, you could tape your mouth closed, which is terrifying at first, but it's incredibly helpful to learn how to do. This is great. Meditation, mindfulness, taking 5-10 minutes 2-3 times a day to just turn everything off. You can use an app if you need to. If you're experienced with meditation, that's even better. It's being present in the moment, and that takes focus, and that takes mindfulness to accomplish that. And it's something that's learned. It's not easy. It took me a long time to get comfortable doing it. So breathing exercises, mindfulness, practicing balance in your life where you schedule time for relaxation. I schedule time for what I enjoy doing, because so often we get so busy in our careers and we're so focused on achieving high performance that we forget to actually enjoy life and have fun and be a dad and be a parent. Go play the sports that you love. Whatever you enjoy doing, you need that balance in your life. And I know we got distracted from cortisol here, but all of these are really important when it comes to balance and relaxation.
But no, everything that you just said is what balances cortisol. And so,
Yep.
and we have good cortisol and good inflammation, which is like when you exercise and like in moderate amounts, it's a good thing. It's how we kind of create a breakdown state in our body, which instigates a building state in our body. But if you are in a chronic stress state so much and you never take time to relax or like do the things that you enjoy, or you're stressed out while you're doing the thing that you enjoy because you can't control your mind to quiet while you're doing the thing you enjoy, which is where mindfulness comes in. It's a practice of learning how to do that so that you have more control over your own mind, which ultimately ends up enhancing your performance anyway. All of those things contribute to maintaining a balance in our cortisol levels and a balance in our stress levels. And I'd say, with my male clients, that's probably the piece of homework I give them most, especially the ones who are dads and who are doing 8 million things and supporting everybody, is like, great, like what do you do for you time? Not dad time, but
Yeah.
you time. Like what does that look like? And some of them don't know how to answer me, and some of them might have an answer. I'm like, great, how often do you do that thing? And it's like once a month, once
Yeah.
every 2 months. And so a lot of my homework for them will be like, I would like you to do this thing more often, and I would like you to set some time aside for mindfulness. So I think we can talk about all the things that people are supposed to do, but I know you had your own experience of kind of transforming your health, even within like a 6 month period, going from running a really busy practice all the time and having a family. Like, what did that transition look like for you in making that model like actually applicable and sustainable where you were finding this balance?
Yeah, I thank you, and I love everything you just said. I think we're in such agreement on that. The analogy that I think makes sense here is when you're on the plane and they talk about, if the oxygen masks come down, you put yours on first before helping those around you. If you're not optimized, if you're not in an ideal state, you're not going to be the best father, husband, leader that you need to be, and so you got to take care of yourself first before you can really show up for others. So for me, it was a awakening moment for me. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, my story, but I really, through my own health issues, when I woke up one day 30 pounds overweight and felt like crap and knew I had to make changes, but I didn't know how to, went to a local concierge doctor, friend of mine here locally, and he didn't have any answers for me either because I didn't have any ICD-10 diagnosis code to treat. So he was like, yeah, you need to lose, eat some vegetables, go on a plant-based diet and exercise more and lose weight, and I may put you on a statin if you don't get better. And I left like, that's it. What the hell? Like,
Well, that's most people.
there's got to be more here than that. Yeah, but I will share with you that I didn't know either. I didn't have the answers either. And here I am, a men's health expert. I'm like, boy, what the hell? I don't know how to fix myself. And so that's what really got me on the quest, on the journey of figuring out, how do I fix myself here? I don't even know, if I was my patient, what would I say besides what this other doctor told me. So that got me into the field of epigenetics. I went through an epigenetic certification program that really opened my eyes to this whole other world. Learned about
Cool.
peptide therapy. Peptides are amazing. Learned about hormone optimization. Interestingly, in 6 years of urology training, we did not get one single lecture or lesson or anything on how to optimize hormones. Kind of had to learn on the fly. It's crazy. Learned about functional medicine. I went through Kalish and through IFM and a lot of A4M training, and started putting all these pieces together. And I found that it wasn't any one thing, Christine. It was all of those things that I was able to apply in a men's health focus that no one had really done before. And most functional medicine out there is either treating like Lyme or mold or autoimmune or thyroid or a specific problem, when there's nothing out there for men's health. And really transformed my health in under a year. And I started sharing it with my patients, and it just took off.
Yep.
And this was about 7, 8 years ago when I realized that I loved this area of medicine, and it took me that long to prepare to jump off the cliff. And I left traditional medicine a year and a half ago, and I haven't looked back.
Well, and I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting because, ever since before I actually went and got my doctorate, I knew about functional medicine. So it's kind of been the model that's always made sense to me. But when you start diving into it, you realize what a complete rabbit hole it is, and that there really truly is no one answer. And more than anything, it's about learning how to think and like learning how to observe the body and learning how to speak the language of the body and learning how to customize that and do that for each individual client, which I know is like a lot of what you do with through the Gapin Institute, is helping men kind of optimize their health and work in that way. But I know we only have a couple minutes left, so I just wanted to make sure to address a couple other questions. So we were talking about the like testosterone pandemic, and then you had talked about, sexual health, and we talked about how different environmental factors affect hormones in those realms, and taking into account that like things like stress also affect your thyroid, which then contribute to things like hair loss and a lot of the other things that my male clients come in asking about.
Yeah.
What would be your take on like what you feel are the most important things for men to know about their health right now that the conventional system is kind of missing educating them about? And I know you're also going to be doing a webinar right after this. So if anybody wants to
Yeah,
learn more when we're done, I actually
perfect.
put it in my story and there's a link to his webinar and you can go check that out. But yeah,
Excellent.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that question.
I think it starts with recognizing that the choices you make on a daily basis matter. It's the fact that we have succumbed to this complacency that is killing us. This concept of wait till there's a problem, only see a doctor when there's an issue, that's got to change. Know your numbers. I'll talk about this over the next hour. Is what are the key labs that you need to know, that you need to be checking on a regular basis, that your doctor is not doing most of these labs. Know your numbers when it comes to body composition, looking at tracking lean muscle, tracking visceral fat. These are metrics that matter. Tracking wearable technology data. Sleep is one of the key critical aspects of health that is overlooked and neglected. And so, looking at how much deep sleep are you getting every night? How much REM sleep are you getting every night? Looking at other numbers like your resting heart rate, numbers like heart rate variability. All these numbers matter. And so it's putting all those pieces together that I think is how we're going to transform the men's health paradigm, incorporating genetics and wearable technology so we can take a very personalized approach as well.
Yep. And, as he's talking about the concept of genetics and wearable technology and these different things, so heart rate variability is like something that you can use to determine how well your heart can adapt to environmental stimulus. And that has a lot to do around cardiovascular health and nervous system health. And, when we're talking about hormones, we're also talking about metabolism, and that includes blood sugar, and that has a very strong relationship with testosterone and different things like that. So when we're looking into that realm, then what you're putting in your mouth is affecting your blood sugar, which affects your insulin, which affects your brain function, also affects your liver, which then affects your hormone detox capacity and whether or not you're actually like biotransforming your hormones correctly. And then when we talk about the environmental toxins, that also contributes to the load on your liver. And then depending on how your hormones are functioning, that determines your muscle mass, and it also determines like the permeability of your gut, which can also determine your inflammation levels and if you're sensitive to certain foods. And so all of this is really tied together, and that is why we run the labs that we do. And a lot of those involve labs that look at your gut, and labs that look at your neurotransmitters, and labs that look at more than just your free testosterone, because, or labs that look at more than just total testosterone, because when you look at free testosterone, when you're looking at cholesterol, you need to take into account the ratio. And also cholesterol is usually a sign that you're dealing with inflammation and things like that. So that's why all these matter. But anyway, I want to make sure you have time to get ready for your webinar. And if people want to learn more about you or the Gapin Institute or work with you, where would you direct them to go?
Oh, thanks so much. So an easy way we can connect is I have a couple free gifts. One is I have my camera's falling. Excuse me. You can if your audience wants to text the word health to 26786, I'm going to share with them a couple gifts. Number one, my 10 secrets to high performance health, which is a quick cheat sheet that you can start implementing today. I'm also going to share a complimentary free copy of my best-selling book, Male 2.0, Cracking the Code to Limitless Health and Vitality. And so again, text the word health to 26786, and you'll get a free copy of each of those. And my website's drtracygapin.com or thegapinstitute.com. And I'm happy to help anyone who needs it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. And if you guys want to hear him talk more about this stuff, he's about to literally do a webinar and dive headlong into it. And the link for that is you click on my icon, like my profile picture, and then click on stories. It's like one of the ones in my stories, and there's a link in there, and you can just go sign up for his webinar. But anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Gapin, and hopefully we can do this again soon. So if you guys liked this, like comment with questions and tell us what you want to know about, what you want to learn, and we'll just cater to you guys. So have a wonderful webinar, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
I would love to. Thanks so much. Always a good time with you.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.